I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're uncovering powerful truths about identity and purpose with a wonderful book, a book you're going to want to read. It is called The Elevated Soul. You are more than what you see. In this transformative book, author and coach Stephon Leary delves into the journey from self-doubt to self-discovery, inspired by timeless lessons from the Disney film, The Lion King. Through faith and resilience, readers are guided toward realizing their true potential and embracing the greatness within. We're delighted to have this very powerful author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put him in the spotlight today. We ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his powerful book. The links are below this interview. Stephon, good to see you here today on Spotlight. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, thank you so much, Logan. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure's all mine, my friend. This book is great. It's going to empower a lot of people to live their best lives. What motivated you to write it?
Well, I've always been told that I had a very interesting story. Started out as a kid, born in a small town in Louisiana with 6 siblings, single mom who ran from an abusive dad and moved to inner city Houston. And with all of the trials and tribulations around us, drugs and alcohol, dropout, things like that, I found myself in love with sports. And so that motivated me to try and be the best I was capable of being or try to be successful in life. And I always had people in my path who helped me, continue the journey to try to be successful. So when COVID hit, I'm sitting around, with nothing to do. And it was almost like a light came on that said, it's time to write that book. Yeah. And so I do basketball. I'm a trainer and I have a basketball program. I hurt my foot. And when I hurt my foot, I was laying around on the couch and I'm thinking, what am I supposed to do with my life? Right. I'm sitting here in this house. I'm a single man, no one there with me. And my foot hurts. It's time to write. And so I decided that I was going to write a book. And since I had been coaching for, 30 years, I decided to call that first book, They Call Me Coach. And I wanted to motivate people. And so my caption on the book was, if I can, you can. Being a young man from an inner city and being from a large family, living in a 2-bedroom apartment in inner city Houston, I found ways to contribute positively to society. And I played sports, every sport that anybody offered me to play, I'd play just to stay out of trouble. Yeah. And I had an interesting experience. I met a coach while in the gym. And while in this gym, this coach saw some potential in me and asked me, would I like to go to Pistol Pete Maravich's basketball camp? Pistol Pete Maravich was a Hall of Fame basketball player. First millionaire to ever play professional basketball. And so I found it intriguing, but I said, I don't have the money to go. And he said, don't worry about it. I'll get someone to sponsor you. I find myself going to this camp in Clearwater, Florida. And I got a chance to meet Pete and participate in camp. I had a great camp, but I was a little bit on the rough side, Logan. I had a lot of city in me, and this was a Christian basketball camp. And I didn't know what that was. I didn't know that there was a difference. And so while Pistol Pete saw potential in me, he also saw my flaws. And because he had his own flaws, he took the time that he asked me to have lunch with him at the end of camp. And this lunch was a lunch that changed my life. He sat me down and he said to me, I see a lot of potential in you. Quite frankly, you remind me of my teammate in the Boston Celtics, Tiny Archibald. He said, you have a lot of potential, but I asked to have lunch with you to share this one thing with you. I'm not going to give you the MVP award. And when he told me that, I was devastated. Right. I dominated the camp. My team was undefeated. We were the best team in the camp. I was the best player. But he told me something I'll never forget. He said, your character doesn't fit the award. and that was life-changing for me. I was heartbroken. I called myself running away from that lunch table with him and the coach that brought me there, Dave Stallman. Dave found me sitting on a curb. I was crying. I felt like I wasn't good enough. Yet he explained to me that's the reason why I decided to invite you to camp. I've seen the same potential in you in the gyms that I've seen you in, but there needs to be a change of character in your life if you're ever going to make it. I listened to Pistol Pete to close out the camp, and he talked about a life-changing experience he had after scoring 60-something points in a game in the NBA. He was at a bar where a man was upset at him and said he was tired of him walking into the bar and bragging on what he's done. And he told him, I ought to blow your mouth off. Invited him into the back alley, and he pulled out a gun. And he made Pistol Pete get down on his knees and put that gun to his mouth. And Pistol Pete shares the story that he looked up to God and said, if you save me, I'll live for you the rest of my life. That was his life-changing experience. That camp was my life-changing experience. I became a Christian at that camp, and then I came back to the inner city, and for some reason, I saw life in a different light. Yeah. I began to see it, open my eyes to life the way I didn't see it. When you're living in the hood, I tell people all the time, when you're living in the hood and you're living in the inner city, you don't see that the drugs, the crime, all of the alcohol abuse and all of that is so bad. You're just living in it and you're trying to survive it. Well, my eyes became open enough to where I began to see it. And I thought to myself, if I'm ever going to be able to make it out of the inner city, I've got to do something different. And so this coach offered me to go to this Christian school that he was coaching at. And it was in the suburbs of Katy, where I live now. And I decided to go out and visit this school. And one of the most miraculous things happened. I tell people all the time, I felt like I met an angel at that when I went on that visit. They had a 6 o'clock in the morning prayer, and there was a bunch of adults there. I was the only young man there, and I was Black, and most of them were white. I felt a little uncomfortable. However, after the prayer, a woman walks up to me, and she says, "What is a young man like you doing here?" And I said, "I came with him." I was the person of few words because I was so shocked. And she said, "Oh," and she said this to me, and I will never, ever forget it. She said, "While we were praying, I was told to offer you a place to live." No one's ever told that to me. No one's ever said anything like that to me. She being white, I'm being Black. It's kind of like the Blind Side story. Movie. So that's how it happened. And I went out and visit with the family. I met the kids. And when I walked in the house to meet the kids, they opened the door and these boys were in there. And I didn't realize it at the time, but these boys were at that camp in Florida. Wow. So when they saw me, they were like, "Oh, it's him. It's him. It's the guy we were telling you about at camp." So as God would have it, Logan, man, I met a family that loved me unconditionally, that helped me become who I am today, to set my foot in the right direction. I left home. I left here in the city. I told my mom I had to leave, and I came out to Katy, and I went to a small Christian school where my basketball career took off. I was an all-state player and got a scholarship to play at Liberty, but I had other scholarships. I turned them down, and I decided to go to Liberty because it was going to help me grow as a Christian young man. And so that's it in a nutshell. I felt like I needed to write that book to inspire people that if I can, you can. It's really all about making decisions in life to do things that may be outside the ordinary, look different than what you ever thought it may look like. But if I can do it, you can do it. It's not, it's something that we all can. You have to be willing to make changes in life in order to accomplish the things that you desire in life. So that was
Amazing.
it. And I decided I was going to write a book,
Yeah.
help inspire people.
It's absolutely an amazing story, every aspect of it. You have this, NBA Hall of Famer who was kind enough to sit down with you, have a meal, and explain to you that you're not doing things right. You're a
That's
good
right.
basketball player, but you need to improve your character. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
that takes great poise on his part, great
Yeah,
concern, great caring, great love.
absolutely. He became a really
Amazing.
good friend. And the funny thing that what happened was when I got back, he did a second camp here in Houston. It was in Katy.
Mhm.
Coach said, "Hey, Pistol Pete heard that you were here and he wants to invite you to camp." I
Amazing.
went to that camp the second time and I won every award. Was MVP, Most Improved, Character Award. It was almost like instant change in my life. And the following year, the funny thing is, Pistol Pete and his dad lived with my adopted family while they did the camp.
Wow.
That was another ironic thing. But the following year, before Pistol Pete passed away, I actually was a young man that was on his staff helping him do his basketball camps. And it was a great honor because I was the only high school guy that he allowed on the camp. He usually only invite college guys and coaches, but he invited me to be a part of his camp staff. So I knew him well enough that that following year, after I went to Liberty, when he passed away, they called me and interviewed me. I didn't know that I had such an impact on his life, and it was just an honor to know him. And I thank God every day for what he did for me in my life, as well as the coach and my adopted family.
Amazing, amazing. And it all came full circle too.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
the fact that you went to work for the camp once you were grown, it's amazing. It sounds like a movie. It really
Yes,
does. I mean, you talked about The
absolutely.
Blind Side before, but in many ways, this seems as intriguing or more intriguing than that. I mean, so much of it is visual. I can see you at the camp. I can see you crying outside of the camp after getting rejected for MVP. I can picture that lunch. I can picture that kind-hearted woman who opened up her home to you, and then you
Yes.
being greeted by the fellow basketball players from the camp. It's an amazing story. So this is all
And she
contained
had
with.
three kids. She had four kids of her own. She had three boys and one girl. And to invite me into their home and gave me my own room and treated me like I was one of their own. She's my angel, Lynn Johnson, the Johnson family. I just went and saw her Friday for her birthday. Make sure I
Amazing.
hug her neck and give her a big kiss. So,
That's wonderful. It's
yeah,
wonderful when people do good things and there are great outcomes and it's appreciated. And like you said, she's your angel. It's a beautiful story. This
thank
is
you.
this is contained within one book or two books, because you mentioned a book earlier
So
too.
that first one is They Call Me Coach, which is how I became a coach. And
Right.
that becoming a coach was going to Liberty and being a starter the first year, everything's going great, and then I have knee surgeries. And my second knee surgery was my senior year, and so my coach in college, Jeff Meyer, asked me to fulfill my scholarship by being on the coaching staff as a student assistant coach.
Mm.
And so that was my first opportunity to become a coach. But after that, I decided that I wasn't done with basketball. And so I tried to, play in the NBA, the CBA, go overseas. And I ended up having a third knee surgery that it was the end of my basketball career. But I became a coach. And that's why I wrote that book. I became a coach, in which I've been doing for 30 years now. And it's been a blessing. I went back to that same Christian school that gave me an opportunity, and I went back and developed the athletic program there, and we won state championships in girls basketball, boys basketball, football. I won a lot of state championships there, and then I go back to Liberty and
Wonderful.
coached at Liberty, and that ring I wear is an NCAA ring that I was a part of the Liberty University group that did that, and went off to a couple of other universities and coached, and then I came back here and I developed my own coaching and training program. So that first book is They Call Me Coach because, as you said earlier, Stephon, right? No, I almost never hear that name. Everyone calls me
Well, hey,
Coach.
coach,
That's why
right.
I entitled it.
And
They
the
Call Me
elevated is kind of taking those lessons that you learned through your life and empowering others to
Yes, sir.
achieve the greatness that's within that might not be realized right now, correct?
Right. That's right.
Yeah,
My second book
wonderful.
is The Elevated Soul.
Yep,
I
absolutely.
invented a training and rehabilitation shoe to help develop athletes, and it has an elevated soul. And
Okay,
so when I was writing the book, I thought about SOLE, elevated soul.
right.
But as I began to reflect on my life and how I wanted to inspire people, I call it the elevated soul. You are more than what you see. I wanted people to see themselves beyond what they see every day, waking up in the mirror and thinking I'm this same old person with the same old problems, with the same old issues and things that are holding me back from being what I wanted to be. I wanted them to see themselves the way God sees them. And I was inspired by the movie The Lion King as Simba was lost after what happened to the tragedy in his own life until he saw himself in the water in the image of his father. And so my inspiration was to inspire people that you need to see yourself the way your Father in heaven sees you. And that will give you the perspective to run back to fulfill the purpose in which God created you. And so I call that book The Elevated Soul, SOUL. And I call it You Are More Than What You See. And
Wonderful.
so I love the Lion King movie. It inspires me, and I hope it inspires others. So
Absolutely. Well, your life story is inspiring in the book They Call Me Coach, and the lessons you learned during the course of your life that will inspire others to achieve the greatness within is all chronicled within the elevated soul. You are more than what you see. It is a
right.
transformative book written by author and coach Stephon Leary. It delves into his journey from self-doubt to self-discovery, inspired in part by the timeless lessons from the Lion King.
Yes,
Stephon, thank you so much for joining me here today on Spotlight. I actually should say, Coach, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
yes, sir. Thank you
Had a
so
great
much for
time.
having me.
I appreciate your time. I really enjoyed your stories. They're absolutely amazing. Hollywood, if you're listening, Stephon Leary has a wonderful biography ready to go that would make a stranger than fiction type tale because it's really, really wonderful and heartwarming. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.